Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Star Trek Lower Decks has recently been introducing us to a plethora of very cool new starships. One of the ones that stood out to me particularly stands out because it's the first look we ever get at a vessel from this species. And this is a little bit of a breakdown of what we know about the ship. And by breakdown, there isn't a lot, there's just what we see of the vessel in the episode, and that is the Bynar ship recently encountered in Star Trek Lower Decks. What do we know about this? Well, a little bit of history. Who are the Bynars? The Bynars are a humanoid species that are gender neutral, which means they are neither male nor female. They have a sort of purple coloured skin and are shorter than the average human considerably, and physically a little less developed. Part of their brains are removed at birth and replaced with a synaptic processor, interconnecting all the Bynars to a central computer which allows them to process information faster, store more information, and learn quicker. Their race are pair bonded so that two of them are connected together very closely and develop a very strong bond throughout their entire lives. They are a sentient species and are spacefaring. They're first heard about, at the very least, we know the Denobulans have met them by the 22nd century. Humans at this point had not yet encountered them, but with Dr. Phlox actually comparing them a little bit to the Borg in how they utilize cybernetic components to enhance themselves, he found the procedure to be fascinating and quite remarkable. By the 24th century, they're encountered again when Starfleet comes to their aid in 2364, and they attempt to steal the USS Enterprise, not because they want all the Federation secrets, but because a supernova had damaged the central computer that helped organize and process their civilization, something for whatever reason they seemed to be incapable of simply replacing, and had absolutely no redundancy for, but the Enterprise D's main computer could serve as an adequate replacement, and they wanted to basically steal it to save their civilization. This was ultimately accomplished by the Federation simply gifting them this technology and helping them rather than them stealing it from the Enterprise. So let's get to the ship itself. What do we know about the actual ship encountered? Because that's what we're really here to learn about, isn't it? Well, sticking with the binary theme as a personal observation, the vessel, its size is a little hard to gauge. It looks to me like it's got 5 decks based on the image, maybe 7, depending on how they exactly split that ship up, which would indicate maybe about a 30 to 40 meter depth of hull, and probably extrapolate that out. The ship's maybe 250 meters in length, and I am totally guessing, but that's my personal observation. It looks like it has a port and starboard warp field projector, and what looks like in the nose of the ship could be a deflector arrays of some kind. They could be weapons ports, but it's not exactly clear if the ship is even armed. Its impulse engines are mounted at the rear in the 2 supporting struts. And again, back to the binary theme, this vessel is basically made of 2 large pontoons on the port and starboard around a central, probably control center. We can assume, if they are constructing the vessel from a logical standpoint, that central pod is where all the major systems are going to be. Perhaps where the warp drive is, probably things like shuttle bay, and obviously the bridge, maybe main engineering. It's hard to say because the Bynars are a little bit of a different type of people in how they organize, even in the way they communicate, being very distinctive in that they can speak at a very accelerated rate and share information very quickly with one another. Again, the starship, I think it's a very cool design. It's a sort of dull grey coloured hull with white and yellow illuminations all over it, indicating different systems. Its maximum warp capability is unknown. It does have a notably very spacious bridge, as in, like, it's very big. Now, the Bynars are small, so big is relative, I suppose. It could be no bigger than the Enterprise D's bridge, but it feels like it's probably bigger. It's a very cool little ship, and for the first encountering of a Bynar vessel, I really liked it. And as I said, there's recently been this whole host of very cool vessels popping up in Lower Decks. I think I'm going to have to cover a few of them, because they're quite awesome, and it's nice to see a race as odd as the Bynars once again represented, and we get to see some more of their technology and their capabilities, albeit in a very limited way. But it's quite interesting to see that their engineering mirrors their culture. Again, Bynars, from a human standpoint, binary meaning of 2, and the fact that the ship is so symmetrical with 2 very large very eye-catching constructions as part of the ship, with only a relatively small drive section, if we want to call it that. It does sort of evoke the binary concept of their entire culture, which is quite cool. But that is just this short little video. I thought it was a cool little concept. As I said, there's not a lot on this ship. It's destroyed by, as of the making of this video, the unknown little alien ship that I can't help but notice. Someone else pointed this out on the forum once, but that little weird ship looks a lot like a Terran Agonizer. I'm just saying. Long live the Empire.